Hi, everybody. Mr. Johnson here with another episode of The Artist Gallery. So, if you are one of my students, make sure that you have your Artist Gallery images and a writing utensil. Don't forget, you'll be cutting out those images that go along with this artist, pasting them in, and you should be writing down the notes that go along with it. There is a journal entry at the end. All right. So, this week's artist is someone that I've used a lot as an example in my classroom. I think she's just fantastic, incredibly talented, and I love her work. So this week we are talking about Janet Fish. Uh, I love Janet Fish. Okay, so Janet Fish is a realism artist. She works in a realistic style. She was born May 18th, 1938, in Boston, Massachusetts. Um, she is still alive. She's currently living in New York, and she has her Master's of Fine Arts from the Yale School of Art and Architecture. Very difficult to get into. She's incredibly smart. Um, I think she's awesome. So Janet Fish grew up in an artistic family. Her father was an art history professor. Her mom was a sculptor, and her grandfather was also a painter. She spent a lot of her early life and childhood in Bermuda, so that was really cool. She attributes her love of light and rich color to the brightness and vibrant tropical colors of the island of Bermuda, where she grew up. She paints with intense, rich colored oil paint, and we'll take a look at a lot of those images in just a few minutes. In 1967, Janet Fish had her first solo show at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Rutherford, New Jersey. So, woohoo! All right, so hopefully you have these things copied down in your sketchbook. You can pause the video if necessary, and let's look at some artworks. Shrink myself so that you can see the whole thing. I think this is gorgeous. All right, so Janet Fish is known for her large, bold, realistic still lifes, especially painting everyday items such as glassware, partially filled with water, reflective objects, clear objects, and she concentrates on the shapes of the objects and how light plays off of their surfaces. She's interested in painting light in a concept she calls packaging, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Um, and she currently resides and paints in Soho, New York, and she also has a farmhouse in Vermont. So she goes back and forth between the two. So let's look at this painting for a bit. So this is a still life, right? So a still life is an arrangement of objects, and here you have. I'll start on the top, and we'll move down. So you have a clear glass bowl with a goldfish in it that's on top of this kind of glass plate. Then there's another little glass vase here with flowers in it. The bottom right corner, you have this bowl full of raspberries, which just look delicious. Then this kind of yellow-green colored glass plate on the left, another glass jar with flowers in it, and then a curtain where window light looks like it's coming in from the outside. So here's one of the things I absolutely love about her paintings, and it's so obvious in something like Raspberries and Goldfish, which she painted in 1981. So this is all about the play of light and color. So take a look at the bowl with the goldfish on the top right. Let's just look at that. So this is a clear bowl. So how do you paint something that's clear? Well, the way that you do that is you look for the shapes created by the light when the light hits that subject. So if you look, this is all made of these small little shapes in here where the light is hitting it, it's reflecting off of the surrounding objects, the back of the bowl, right, all these edges. It's just shown where light is hitting it, which I think is beautiful, very difficult to do, and it looks gorgeous. And then at the bottom, these raspberries are just fantastic. You get the bright, rich red tones in there. Those red colors are beautiful. And then she uses these light highlights to create all that raspberry texture on them. And then on the right side of the bowl, you can also see again that reflected light and the shapes that they make. I think her use of color is absolutely beautiful. You get the blue tones in the glass bowl at the top, the bright reds of the raspberries, the yellow green of the glass plate on the left, and then that's echoed in the yellow and green in the curtain. But then those colors also appear in other places. It looks like the table surface that they're sitting on is a deep green. The red of the raspberries appears in flowers on the left and the right. There's bits of yellow and green all over the composition. It's so impressive. I think her work is beautiful. So I use it a lot in examples for my classes. Boop, gonna move myself again so that you can see the majority of of this painting. So Janet Fish, an American realist painter, is considered one of the most important contemporary still life painters working today. She paints from direct observation, which means that she sets up her objects in front of her and looks at them while she paints them. She's known for her colorful artworks, reflecting light bouncing off glass and enamel surfaces. And while her artistic origins were in abstract art, which is what she mainly learned in college, um, she broke away from that. She started focusing on landscape painting. In the 1960s and 70s, she painted fruit and then glass containers. And then she really kind of jumped into the style that she's best known for today, which are the images like this. So in Goldfish and Autumn Leaves, yes, another painting with a bowl of goldfish. She has goldfish, so they appear in a lot of her paintings. They're in the jar right in the center. So here you can see the two fish swimming. But again, look at the play of light off of these objects. You can tell that the plates here and this stack of dishes and this stack of bowls, like these are made of glass. And what's beautiful about them is the way that the light is refracted in the images. So this is a yellow tinted glass, but she didn't paint it yellow. What she has are shapes of gray, shapes of white, shapes of yellow, shapes of orange, shapes of amber, and all of that together creates this beautiful reflective illusion happening in the glass and the glassware all throughout the painting. The same thing with these pink and red tinted plates, these clear bowls that have a little bit of blue and pink in them. And then on the left side of the painting are these things full of brilliant color. So you've got this rich purple cloth, these green grapes, and look at all the different shades of green that she uses, from these really, really deep forest green, medium kind of grass greens, really, really pale, light yellow green, all of those different colors in there. I think that's so important. So if you're going to paint any subject, right, or even color a subject, even if you're using markers or colored pencils, the same idea can apply, right? If you color in something with just one single color, it looks flat and it's not visually exciting. But here, Janet Fish shows that when you use multiple different values of a color, you create visual interest. It also helps add depth. Those light colors act as highlights. Really, really beautiful work. I think this is awesome. So here is another painting that you should include in your sketchbook and your notes for Janet Fish. It's called Glass and Shells, painted in 1990. This is an oil painting, and I think it's beautiful. Again, look at the way that the glass has all of these highlights in it. It's clear, so you can see through it, but it also has color, and it looks like it has weight. So a couple things I want to point out about this painting that are my absolute favorites. I love. We've talked about how she paints glass, right, in the other two images, but here, look at the way that the colored glass reflects onto this white table surface. This just blows my mind. I don't even know how you begin to figure out how to do this, but this yellow bowl here with this kind of peachish, red, orange, pinkish dish, on top of it. Look at how those colors are reflected here on the ground. I think that's amazing. The blue from this glass gets reflected here on the ground. I think it's just so cool. You can see each of the reflective objects casting their colored light down onto the ground. It's incredible. And then right in the center is this kind of yellow-green rectangular glass vase jar, and it's got these plants in it. And I just love the color of that. I love that you can see the plants through it. And then to the left of it, look at this black pitcher, right? And it's black, but it's so metallic. It's so shiny, and you can see those bright white highlights, and then also highlights of other colors. It's showing that color is bouncing off of the objects nearby, and it's being reflected off of the black pitcher. So you can see this yellow green color being reflected right in here off of this vase. The blue from this cup gets reflected in here. So you can, that attention to detail is incredible. And then the shells. So let's take a look at the very bottom. You can see different kinds of shells, and she's created different textures with those. They're not as reflective, the ones in the bottom left. I think that's really beautiful. I just, I think she's awesome. I think she's awesome. So shrink myself again, so I'm out of the way. So this is a painting called Herb Tea by Janet Fish. And again, the most amazing thing here are these clear objects that the light passes through them and then is shown on the ground, right to the side. Look at the red of this jar and the liquid inside. This must be the herbal tea that's in here. But then look at the way that this light is refracted on the ground, right through this clear glass teapot. It's beautiful. And then right, this plate on the right with the slices of lemon on it, well, they're amazing. But look at how the light passes through it and creates this kind of rippled shadow. I think that's so amazing. What I also really appreciate about Janet Fish's paintings are that the backgrounds are very simple in most of her work, or at least a lot of her work. And I appreciate that because it really draws our focus to the subjects and the light coming through them and the reflections in the glass. That's the important part. So here there's this little ledge. She's painted background. It's not like it's blank. It's there. But it's the glass subjects that are the most important. And then look at this crinkled piece of paper. That's so difficult to do, right, with this lemon in it. This could be like, plastic wrap or something like that. She's amazing. So speaking of plastic wrap, she's also known, aside from her glass still lifes, for drawing fruits, vegetables that are still wrapped in plastic, like you might buy them right from the grocery store. And they're on this tray wrapped up. Sometimes they're in a plastic bag. Now, Janet Fish says, and I have a quote from her, that plastic wrap catches the light and creates fascinating reflections. So that's why she loves it so much. So this is called Peaches from 1971, and this is all about the reflections of the light shown in the plastic. Now, again, plastic is clear. So most of this painting, you see right through the plastic, and you see the yellow and orange and red and purple, the peaches, through that plastic. You see that color right there. But to show that it's wrapped in plastic, she has some little marks on the sides, little white highlights there, some little like stretched marks of the plastic from the side, little highlight across the top, and then highlights on the surface. It's amazing because it's so clear what this is, right? We know that these are peaches wrapped in plastic. But the way that she shows that is just with these shapes of white. And those white shapes are reflections cast from lights that are above the subject. So if you're in a room with an overhead light, you'll see the shape of the lights get reflected in that clear plastic. I think that's amazing. Again, she's incredible. I think this is the last one for you. This is called Oranges, very clearly. So again, here's a plastic bag of oranges. This is a pastel drawing on a brown paper, which I think is really cool. So because the paper is brown, and you can see that's the color that most of the background is, she has drawn over it with a different shade of brown in a few areas, but a lot of it you can see the paper that's still there. What that does is that allows her to add color on top of that brown and also use a white pastel to draw in the highlights. Just the way that this plastic bag is is drawn here, you've got some different colors. There's blues, there's greens, there's little bits of pink and purple that are in it. So it's not just clear. She adds those other colors in, and then she uses white to show all of these little wrinkles and highlights and folds, which is just beautiful. Then here you have this opened orange, and look at the texture of that orange, the way that the little fibrous bits are shown. She's drawing lines in there. The edges are white, and then this peel that's been removed that's sitting there. Oh, come on, isn't this cool? Look how cool that is. She just sat and drew that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so here is our journal prompt for Janet Fish. It's kind of a lofty one, so I want you to take a few minutes and think about it. Take some time to notice light and color around you. What does the light look like? Do you notice details of light and color the way that Janet Fish does? Spend a few minutes looking at how light bounces off of an object and write down your thoughts about it. Take a few minutes, choose any object, and really look at the way that the light hits it. Where the reflections, what do the shadows look like? Does any of that color translate, onto the ground, like in the example here? And just tell me, what object are you looking at? What does the light look like? Just give a little reflection. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion on Janet Fish, and I can't wait to see your journal prompts. Make sure you photograph them along with your notes page, post it to your digital portfolio. And if you have questions, please let me know.